Hey guys, so a bit of a different video for you this week. I've been getting a lot of questions about my assembly table, and so I thought I'd do a quick overview of it, just how I built it, why I did the things that I did, and the things that I put in there. And I wanted to take you along for the ride and kind of explain just the thought process and planning and construction of my assembly table. So thank you for joining us on Shepherd's Workbench. Come on along for the ride. Hey, my name is Joe. Welcome to Shepherd's Workbench. So the first thing I want to talk about is just with this table, there was months and months of planning that went into this. I watched several YouTube videos, got suggestions from other people, got plans and ideas, and pieced together little bits and bits of other people's stuff into what I really wanted for this table. During that time, the months of planning, it really helped me understand what I really wanted and what I really needed out of this table. Some of the things, like I wanted it to be an outfeed table for my table saw. I wanted it to have drawers and storage and things like that. And some of the things that I was like, oh, this would be cool to have would be like the T-track, but I wasn't sure what it would cost, what that would look like, how I would do it. I wasn't sure how I was going to do the top, so there was a lot of time in between for me to figure what I was going to do for all of those things. So this is not a build video because obviously it's already here, but I want to explain some of the things and the why I did certain things in making this table. So then that way, in case you're planning to build a table for your workbench or an assembly table or outfeed table for your shop, you can maybe kind of get some ideas from what I did with mine, or maybe kind of like, well, Joe did that, but I don't like that idea. So just when you're looking at building a table, make sure you take lots of time to plan and figure out what it truly is that you want your assembly table to do for you. Because my shop isn't super small, but it's not giant either. So I needed this table to function and do a lot of things for me and make a good use of the space it was going to take up, because I knew it was going to be fairly large. So first I want to talk about the construction of it. The main body is made out of 3 box leg pieces with about an inch gap off the bottom. Each of where the boards join is a half lap joint that's done with glue and screws to make it nice and strong. I knew this table was going to end up weighing a lot, and I wanted it to be strong enough to withhold the weight over time and not cause any sagging anywhere else. I joined the 3 legs together with this full lap joint, which is a 2x8 southern yellow pine that I ripped in half to essentially create a 2x4. And I did a full lap joint on these to join them all together, again with glue and screws to make it nice and strong. Underneath, I did leveling feet. By that I mean I took a T-nut and I stuck it on the bottom, drilled the hole, and I put a really nice big bolt on the bottom so I can adjust the height to make sure that this table was going to be perfectly level whenever I got it in the space, because this is my shop's on a concrete slab, and so I knew the floors weren't going to be perfectly level. So I wanted to make sure that it was nice and strong, it was level, and then I got it to fit the build that I wanted for it. So this is kind of the heart and soul of the workshop, and what the whole dimensions of the assembly table had to be built around. Because the most important thing to me about this assembly table was making it an outfeed table for my table saw. Now this table saw is great, and I love it. I actually got it as a gift from a friend, Patty and John, if you're watching this, thank you. But essentially he said it's kind of sitting in his garage and he doesn't use it that often and wondered if I wanted it. And I said yes. I had a job site table saw that I was using before, and originally I had planned to inset that table saw into my assembly table. But when I got this one, I figured, man, I'm going to change the design to fit this contractor saw. And where this saw is great, there are a couple things that I wish I could change. Mainly, the dust collection. And by dust collection, I mean there absolutely isn't any. So the other thing I had to account for was this giant motor. It sticks out really far in the back, almost 10 or 11 inches. So I had to create this overhang in the table in order to go over that motor, but still work as an outfeed table, which gave me an awesome idea to make this slide out. Now this slide out holds all of my other stuff. My thread, my inserts, my dado stacks, my miter saw gauge, my old spline jig, stuff like that. And it's just literally a little track here that I made out of the same stuff that the top is made out of. And this is just a 1/2 inch sheet of MDF that fits in those grooves. But it was really easy, and I got to mount some paper towels underneath. So where I was a little upset by this overhang, it ended up working out in the end. So where I also have it on these leveling feet, I also added these little casters here. They click down on a foot and they lift the whole table up about 3/4 of an inch, because my shop is pretty small. And I know if I have big projects, I want to be able to move this out of the way to be able to fit it in the little area over here. So I added these lifting casters to be able to move the table around with it being so big. I'll link to these in the description below, but these are rated to lift 880 pounds or something like that, so I knew it was going to be well worth getting these, and it was going to be just fine for my table. On this side of the table, I also added a little French cleat wall. I use these screwdrivers all the time, and so I wanted to be able to have quick access to them and be able to add little jigs for my stuff to fit on this side of the bench. I have, you can see some of my hand planes there. There's a spot for my brad nailer. It's out now, but I wanted to be able to customize tool holders to be able to fit my stuff on this side, rather with the stuff that didn't fit in the drawers, at least, or I didn't want to stick in the drawers. This is a cool little bottle opener I found a long time ago. It's a nice little bear head. But then we also have right here, I made this little roll for some craft paper. When we get to the top, I'll show you why, but I wanted to keep the top somewhat nice. I knew it was gonna get abused and beat up. It's a workbench. But the things like when I'm staining or painting, I wanted to be able to roll this out really conveniently to be able to put it over the bench to protect the top, at least for a little bit. So the whole workbench is wired for power. I wanted to be able to have outlets that were close by, that weren't reaching across the wall where I'm trying to walk through or have to worry about getting extension cords and things like that for my track saw or for my circular saw or whatever I use. I wanted them to be conveniently located right here, right underneath the workbench, so they're easy and convenient. But the difficult thing was, this is on wheels, and if it's going to move around, I have to find a way to get power to it without hardwiring it. So I bought one of these plugs. This is a male end of a wire that goes from 14.2 to all of the outlets in the bench. Then all I have to do, take my extension cord, plug it in, and I'm good to go. And if I ever need to move my workbench across to the other side of the shop, unplug and it's ready to roll. So right here on this side of the bench, we've got spot for my shop vac. I also have my planer and jointer over here. These were the two that I just knew I needed specific sizes, but didn't have a real plan for this side of the bench. I think eventually I'm going to be putting the planer and jointer on its own flip top cart, so then free this space up, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but eventually probably maybe fill this with drawers or some sort of cabinet feature there. But this is what I knew I needed to store it. The reason why these things are going to come out and probably go on its own cart is my planer is really heavy, and lifting it in and out just gets kind of cumbersome, especially when I'm working with rough lumber. So I want to find a more convenient way to use this. But also on this side, I have my benchtop vise. Excuse me. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here in the little icon up there, so you can check this video out. We made this Moxon vise because I needed a vise. I was going to start trying to do hand cut dovetails and just a lot more little fine detail work. And I didn't want a vise that mounted at the top, and I didn't want to spend $200 on a vise that was going to fit underneath. So we made this out of solid hard maple and a couple things. I think I spent maybe $30 on it. Now you can see over here, I have these drawers. I made the drawer faces to match the top of the workbench. I also, if you've seen my other video where my hardware storage was, this is where it used to be. And it's remained unchanged ever since I made that video. what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna take these drawers and remake them over here, but I'm gonna have some thinner drawers on this side, some skinnier ones, for all my measuring tools. This is the top of my workbench. Notice the integrated T-track and the fine hardwood oak flooring. I gotta stop trying to be Vanna White. Okay, let's be serious. I wanted to make my bench out of a hardwood or something that was going to be able to stand up to the abuse. And I chose oak hardwood flooring. Now, if you were to go and buy this stuff, it'd be pretty expensive. But what happened was I found it on Facebook Marketplace. Some lady was getting rid of all of it, and I took it. I have a ton of it left over still, so future projects to come. But what I did is I took a 3/4 inch MDF sheet, and it's underneath here. My bench is 4 feet by 6 feet. So I cut it down to size, and what I did is I screwed the MDF down to my leg braces. Then what I did is I came back with glue and brad nails, and I glued and brad nailed the whole thing together once I got all of the pieces seated. Once they were all seated, I cut in my T-track. Now this T-track is not Rockler T-track. It's not some well-known brand from Woodcraft. This was something I found on Amazon. It was super cheap and it works great. The only downside is it's not exactly 3/4 of an inch wide, nor is it truly a 1/2 inch deep like Rocklers may be. So I had to do multiple passes. Essentially what I did is I just clamped a straight edge along all the lines that I needed, and I routed my grooves, doing it in 4 passes technically. Because I did a light pass first, then I did my full depth, then I had to move my straight edge, and then do the second pass on the other side. It took a little while, but man, is it worth it. Having a piece that's like right in the center to be able to clamp it down as a stop block or whatever it may be, it's awesome. So I will leave a link in the description for the T-track that I purchased. Hopefully it's still available, but you can get some for yourself. All right, so serious talk. I love my assembly table. It fits exactly what I needed and exactly what I wanted. There are some things that I'm going to change. Like I said, moving the planer and jointer up and down from down there sucks. So that's going to eventually get its own cart, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that cavity over there. Maybe I'll put my air compressor underneath there. And as far as this side goes, where my hardware storage used to be, and it's there now, I'm probably going to put more drawers there. I know you'll hear guys like Adam Savage say that drawers are where tools go to die. But if you use them efficiently, they're great. So I'm going to keep using drawers. There are a couple things that I don't use as often as I thought I would. Like the slide out that's underneath my table saw here. I probably need to add some more things to it. I tried putting my old crosscut sled on there. It didn't hold because, well, it's MDF. Maybe moving it to a different grade sheet of plywood would be better. I don't know. But for now, it does what it needs to do. And it's a great place to store stuff. Some of that stuff may get put in drawers. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that side yet. I love the French cleat wall on this far end here. I'm probably gonna use that in my shop in the wall behind you. So you guys, when I do videos like this and outros, don't have to look at this mess. Because I'm aware of how cluttered it is. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my assembly table. If you guys have any questions, or maybe you want some pictures of the designs that I drew, whatever it may be, leave it down in the comments. I'd love to answer questions, see what you really liked about the bench, what you thought, man, I would definitely do that differently. Or maybe you have some ideas for some stuff that I should incorporate in my workbench. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on Shepherd's Workbench.